Good morning. It's Thursday, the eve of Rosh Chodesh Iyar, days after Yom HaShoah, days before Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaTzmaut. And, we're living in a very strange time, obviously. We're living during a time of a lot of pain and a lot of loss, and where lives for everyone have undergone profound changes that are not easy. And many people try to draw lessons from this time. Some are wise, some are not necessarily wise, some are insightful, some are superficial. And at the risk of adding to the talk that is not always worthwhile, there was one thought I wanted to share. Many people talk about how this moment reminds us of how much of life is not under our control, how we are subject to forces beyond our ability to harness or to stop. But it's also a time when we remember, and we should reflect, on how much power and control we do have. If you look back just 4 or 5 weeks ago and you read what was written then about this moment, you'll read projections and predictions that were very dire, that most often were not realized. If you look at what the experts thought would happen and the death rate in Canada or in the US or elsewhere, the worst projections are not nearly being reached. Things are very different. And it's not because the scientists were wrong. It's not because the doctors were wrong. And that's not what happened here. What happened here is a degree of human beings, of people, taking control to an extent that the doctors and the scientists were never able to predict. All of their models assumed much less compliance with social distancing. And the fact is that people are smart and that people are disciplined. And people did, in fact, follow the regulations. If you look at the statistics, whether they be in our own little area of Côte Saint-Luc or anywhere else, the numbers were painful at the beginning. But the growth, the exponential growth that everyone expected didn't happen. It did not happen. It didn't happen because people made the right decisions. I read a report yesterday that was written 14 years ago, projecting behavior during a pandemic in the US. And it talked about some of the regulations that we've now all become familiar with, whether it was advisable to implement them. Closing of schools and businesses, social distancing, social isolation. And the report concluded that these things can't be tried because people won't listen. In fact, people listened. We took control. And the reason the numbers are as low as they are, yes, painfully high, but as low as they are, is because people took control. And people listened, and people made smart decisions. And so as many wax eloquent about the lessons about how little is under our control, we should also remember how much is under our control. And the reality of today was determined by our collective and individual behavior. It's on the eve of Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, the very idea of Rosh Chodesh, as I talked a few weeks ago, the very idea of Rosh Chodesh is the idea that we are empowered, that we do have a degree of control over our world, certainly over our lives, and over the destiny of the time in which we're living. Let us remember that, and let's be proud of what we've done. And as we begin to hear the conversations about reopening, let's remember that whatever reopening can occur, whenever it does occur, it's because people were a lot smarter and a lot more disciplined than all the experts predicted.